What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
Does your book, film, resource, product, or business change people's lives for the better? Hi, I'm Jackie Lappin, founder of Conscious Media Relations, a unique boutique PR firm that helps you connect with your mind, body, spirit, and conscious lifestyle audience in a big way. We reach 3,500 specialty media and all the key mainstream outlets in the United States. I invite you to explore our radio media tour that connects to 2,600 personal growth radio shows. There is just nothing else like it. Come check out our website and read our rave reviews.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Lightbody, mentor, healer, author, radio host, Reverend Dr. Edwige Bang. Now, Dr. Edwige Bang's spiritual journey began at an early age when she was often visited by what she would now refer to as her benevolent brothers and sisters. Reverend Dr. Edwige's ability to both heal and activate one's divine potential manifested spontaneously when her light body moved into her. Dr. Edwige's body acts as a vessel to bring vibrational energy forth directly from source and to bring you into the flow of all that is. Her sole purpose is to be a bridge between heaven and earth. Dr. Edwige Bang, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I am glad you're here as well. You're not crazy, you're awakening. Where did the inspiration for this book come from?
You know, that's an interesting question because quite honestly, it was never a desire of mine to write for a living. But the spiritual awakening started to happen, and I was at a workshop in Sedona, and a stranger walked up to me and said, "Are you writing yet?" And I said to her, "No, I don't write." About 6 months later, that happened again here in Las Vegas. Someone approached me at a workshop I was at, and they said, "Are you writing? They want you to know that you're loved. And are you writing?" And so I said, "Well, thank you for the love. And no, I'm not writing." And then, literally several months after that, I was on the telephone with someone who channeled Archangel Michael. And Michael came in and said, "It is in your blueprint. You are to write." And so I said, "What am I writing about?" And they said, "You will know." And shortly thereafter, that's when all of these experiences, as I like to call them, started to happen. And then I knew, okay, that's what I'm writing about. All of these experiences that would have one think they're crazy, but you're not. And then what I learned from all of those experiences in my awakening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of information here, and a lot of people that will come across your work will be like, well, where has she got this information from?
Well, so that goes even further back. When I was 12 years old, I actually started getting the first visitations from benevolent beings. And I remember in particular this one morning where I felt this energy standing in my room looking at me. And when I opened my eyes, it was a tall, benevolent being of light. And out of my bed I went. I could see me sleeping. And I left me, went out the window. We flew into the cosmos. We landed on a bridge, and then we dove into the depths of the ocean. And this being visited me for 6 years. So there was always something that I knew that there was going on. So, yeah, the information came from all of these beings visiting me.
Right, right. And did you tell family members about this visitation?
Oh, absolutely. My mom was a Rosicrucian back then. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the Rosicrucians, but I remember she used to get these green pamphlets and she would read them and meditate and study. And so when I told her, she said, "They are here to teach you, go." I'll never forget one time, literally, I went down the hallway into my parents' room. My mom was sleeping and I'm trying to wake her, but of course I couldn't. And out her window I went. And so, yes, she guided me that they were here to teach me that you're so much more. And so that's what I did. I went with them.
Okay, okay. Now, a lot of this, I'm sure once you got to a certain age, you didn't pursue that information, that these experiences weren't happening anymore, is that right?
See, absolutely. You know how we'll get those experiences as a child, and then as soon as we get into those teenage years, we just shut everything down and we have life, right? So that's exactly what I did. They visited for 6 years, and then my dad transitioned when I was 18, and life happened. I actually became a blackjack dealer in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to help support my mom and sisters because my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so then I remember being in California. I was about 25 when this familiar energy woke me up. And when I opened my eyes, there he was standing with a clipboard, or my perception of a clipboard. And I said telepathically, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Checking your progress." I didn't have a clue. I'm like, progress to what? you know? So fast forward, now it's 2004. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm singing, having a life, married, happy. I am rear-ended in a car accident. I go into the light and they say, "You are here to bring them into the light." That's when, as an adult, I had the first, okay, there's something more to my purpose here. And then that's when they started showing up literally every 10 days with still points of light, turning things on, plugging things into me, literally. Um, and that's when it began this process for me of remembering that I am this bridge. And it was in September of 2012 that I watched as my light body descended into me, literally. It was beautiful because when I close my eyes, I see colors and I pulse and vibrate all the time. And I watched as it moved in and as it calibrated in my system.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when you had that fatal car crash, almost fatal, I would say, with that kind of speed, and you had that near-death experience, did you tell family members again of what you'd had experienced, that you'd been towards the light and you'd had these wonderful visions?
I told my mom and my husband, and it was so very interesting because all of a sudden I started to say, like a broken record, there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know what it is. And so they said, don't worry, it's going to come to you. And lo and behold, oh my gosh, one morning there was this being from Sirius standing there, and she said, we are ready to teach you meditate.
Well, that's interesting. Sirius. Had anyone been from Sirius before? Well, that you can remember.
No, no. The beings before were from higher realms. They weren't terrestrial in nature, they were celestial in nature.
Wow, so you've got a lot of connections here. It's not just in the spirit realm. There's also spirit work being done by, like you say, beings in this realm as
Yeah,
well.
so there's angelics, there's all sorts of, and I've been visited by many of them, probably 15 different types of beings. And what I find really fascinating, as you begin the process, you're going to have these higher dimensional ETs, okay, terrestrials, whatever you want to call them. But then as you advance, because the visitations would last a year, then it would be the next type and the next way of traveling out and the next way of traveling back into my body, all changed year after year from '04 till when my light body moved into me in 2012. And so as I raised in vibration and frequency, then the types of beings that started showing up changed to now where they're just energy. They're pure energy and they've never incarnated. And so it's just interesting to see the progression of who shows up first to get you to the next stage, to get you to the next stage.
And are they still visiting you now?
Now I have these 6 dimensional beings basically that stay in me, as well as a amazing divine feminine aspect of creator that just recently moved in the last week of September as we were moving through the photon belt. She speaks an ancient light language.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
So how does your family take your work then nowadays?
You know, my husband has a really good sense of humor. And so when I first, I'll never forget the first time I was told to do energy work, right? Because there's no formal really anything. It's just, it turned on within me. So I'm at an event and I'm being guided that I'm supposed to put my hands above their heads. And so I do that. And all of a sudden, this energy is moving through me and my body is literally contorting. And I'm saying all sorts of craziness coming out of my mouth. And my husband is sitting there. He's my assistant. And he looks at me when I'm done and he said, when did that start? And
Well, at least he's going to the events with you. That's a good thing.
yes. And then when this light being showed up and I started speaking, and she'll say hello, I'm sure. He stopped and then he mimicked and he's like, "Boo, boo, boo, ba, boo, boo, ba, ba." And I'm like, okay, dear, make fun. That's okay. So thank goodness he plays a loving, supportive
Well,
role and
that's right. I mean,
understands.
look how laid back you are about it, and how cool you are about it as well. That he is like that, and that he supports you, and with that loving side as well, right? And that we can
Absolutely.
laugh about. And we're not. You're not rigid. There's a lot of people in this spiritual field that are very rigid, and they're. It's about having a laugh as well, I think.
You have to. I've heard inside voices and outside voices. I'll never forget this one time where we used to have a wellness center. And as I drove up to it, I got a flat tire. And I let this flat tire bother me. This was back in 2008. I let this little tire bother me. My husband came and changed it, and everything was fine, right? So he made it off to LA. He actually trains fighters, professional boxing fighters, for a living and works for the UFC. How crazy is that? Um, so I was home by myself, and in the wee hours of the morning, an outside voice said, disconnect from an uneven temper. And I jumped up, right? Thinking, what did I just hear? And this outside voice said it again, disconnect from an uneven temper. And in that moment, I knew the way I behaved, right? Allowing some silly little thing to take me outside the space of my heart was detrimental to this process. And so I said, okay, I understand. And I said, is there anything else? And the voice said, yes, love is all there is. And so There you have it. We have to disconnect from anything that would cause us to be centered and balanced in our heart. And so being rigid with ourselves takes us outside our center. Being judgmental of ourselves and others takes us outside our center, right? Having opinions about this and opinions about that, all of these things take us from being centered. And it was important enough that there was an outside voice to tell me to disconnect from the unevenness of that temper.
Okay, okay, and of course, so many ways we could take this, but how, obviously, doing the work that you do you find it very important that you're around like-minded people as well, and have you got that community around you now as well?
So that's really interesting because early on, when this all started, as an adult, I would always have my daily prayer that I'm drawn to those of like intent and in harmony, both in the physical and non physical planes. And so the universe brought me exactly that. First of all, my mom, who is 85, is very supportive. She's open, so she sees everything. When I do work on her, she sees all the colors, she sees the beings coming in. And my husband's very supportive. But in addition to that, I have a small nucleus, a very small circle, but of those people who, again, the universe has sent to me to be those guardians, to be those confidants that I can share all of this with, that they will actually see and be able to help decipher, wow, this is what's going on. So, yeah, I've been blessed. It's a very small circle, but it's all that you really need.
Good. That's important. I'm really glad for you as well, because I know that's how important that is
It's
with from
hard,
first-hand
yeah.
experience. Yeah, it can be hard, but without that, and it's strange that you had to get rear-ended in a sense. And to go through that, to have the wake-up experience where some people have that same experience, yet it's through a nasty relationship breakup, and they lose everything, and it's like horrible, and there's other things going on, and their life's just it's gone a 360. Where with you, it wasn't that way, was it?
So here's the interesting thing that I've come to know about myself, Kevin, that I actually came in with fourth dimensional consciousness and no life lessons in this time because I hold the templates for 5, 6, and 7D, because the work is so important of ushering in the golden age and turning on light bodies within people. So I didn't have life lessons in this time. And so this car accident, there wasn't even any cellular memory. And that's why they took me to this hovering space. Even though I went into the light, my life didn't flash before me. I just went into this beautiful, peaceful, loving energy of white golden light. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Where am I? Was the energy while I was there, that innocence. And so, literally, upon the second impact, I believe, I was back in the car, back in my body. My mom was my passenger. Her seat had fallen back. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, why is your seat back? And she said, Dear, because we were just in an accident. I'm like, oh, okay. I tore 2 discs in my neck and had to recover from that. But other than that, and it happened. And it's so funny because I share in my book, it could have been a broken fingernail, right? Because the reality of it is, the process is, and what was in my Akashic record is that I'm supposed to awaken at this time. How that happens is based on where I am energetically speaking at the time. So had I been in a higher vibration, it could have been simply me breaking a fingernail, would have said, oh, you're here to bring them into the light. But at that time, busy running back and forth, right? So focused on external things that it was a car accident that was my chaos moment, chaos into harmony, that brought me back into harmony.
So, okay, now you say that you're divine, you're gifted now by divine source with the ability to clear energies that are blocking the flow of someone's higher self. And obviously there's these blocks manifest into sort of physical illnesses of limiting beliefs, all sorts
All
of
sorts of things, yeah.
all sorts of things. When did you know? When did you realize you had that gift? How was that built? Obviously, you had the awakening, you had the transformation experience in 2004. But how has this built to this ability?
So, and again, everything has been in stages, literally from the very first teacher coming in and taking me. That first teacher lasted a year. And it was so very interesting. I'll never forget one of the experiences that I had was he had me in this room that appeared to be like a garage. and it had a wall full of cubicles. And there were all of these brand new tools in their boxes in the center of the room. And I knew to pick up tool by tool, take it out the box, and put it into its cubicle. When I was complete, I was moved from that space, and I was back in my safe place with that teacher. And he said, "You have all the tools. Now it's time to use them." So then the next stage started. And I remember in meditation, all of a sudden my hands heated up and they had a blue energy coming off my fingertips. And they said the healing flame had ignited. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? So the next experience that led me to this was I was actually already teaching. And so I was in a class teaching, metaphysical principles and different things. And in that class, a voice said, "Lay hands on them." And I ignored the voice. I'm thinking, am I just hearing this again, right? Questioning. And the voice said it again, "Lay hands on them." And I said, No. So I continued speaking, and the voice said it again. And then finally I said to this group, "I'm being guided that I'm supposed to lay hands on you. I don't know what that means, but if you're willing, stay behind at the end of the class and I will do so." No one left. So I said, okay, now what? And so literally I just stood behind each person and put my hands up above their heads. And all of a sudden, energy started flowing in. One person, their power animal came in and lifted something off their crown. The next person, my whole heart started to shake. And I thought, oh, this is what our heart walls feels like. And it shook. And when it was freed within me, it was free within them. I moved to the next person and something happened to every single person. And so then from that moment, I knew that, okay, there's something to this. And so then more energy work done in me, where literally they started plugging in more frequencies, and I would pulse and vibrate more and see more and more colors. And so then I knew it was building and building and building. And then when they told me that the templates had turned on, that's when I knew that, okay, now I can do this work energetically anywhere. I mean, literally, we could just tap in right now. And, most people I work on, actually all the people I work on, it's either over the phone or via Skype. And they're all around the world.
Yes, that's the great thing about your work, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just
international,
literally
yeah.
turn on, like right now, my hands are pulsing and vibrating, and it's 24/7. And so it's just setting the intention that now I'm going to begin to clear. And if I were to set that intention with you, it would start.
Right, okay. Your book, in a sense, what can people expect to get out of it, just so it leads into your work as well?
It absolutely does. And so the book journals my life from 12 to when my light body descended into me, and everything that I learned along the way. Everything that the beings came in and taught me. I mean, for example, I remember this one morning, I think it was in 2008, somewhere around in there, where I got up to, make breakfast. I opened the refrigerator and an outside voice said, "No more meat." And I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, fine. So I share all of that. I became a vegetarian that day and have been a vegetarian ever since. Not saying that that's how you have to go. That's just what they wanted for me, right? And so as I share these experiences, and some are extreme and very paranormal, with even being visited by blue reptilians that were a dying race, and they came to get knowledge and information from me, and they visited with me for 3 months. So I share those experiences, and then I also share what I learned. So how to ground yourself, right? How to protect yourself, and how to check to know if what's coming in. Because literally, there was a time, quite honestly, when I was scared, because every night I didn't know what was going to show up. And I guarantee something was showing up. And so I started to learn how to put grids around my bed. I mean, all sorts of things, working with different, invocations, until finally I became an untouchable. And when I broke through that fear and knew that, hey, I'm the one with the gifts and the power, and nothing has any control over me, wow, boy, did it shift. And I became an untouchable. And so I share all of that, of how to do all of those things.
And just for the audience as well, thank you for that, by the way. That's fantastic. And just for the audience, how did you get your doctorate in?
So I enrolled. Again, everything is so divine, and literally, synchronicity is a wonderful thing. And synchronicity is truly how you stand on that path. I call it the yellow brick road, just standing there in trust and know that the next thing is going to show up. Even way back when the first being showed up and said, "We're ready to teach you meditate," literally at that time is when I had my store. And what was so funny, one of my customers who was a friend of mine, she came in and she said, "Edwige, I found this really cool gem. It's the Merkaba, right? And isn't it really neat? And look at the shape of it." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. I don't want to buy one, but yeah, that's really cool." 3 weeks later, I get an email from another associate, and she says, "This workshop is coming to town and they need a home to host the workshop. It is the flower of life and they're teaching the Merkaba activation. Would you be interested in hosting it in your home?" And I said, "Well, I guess the answer would be yes." And that's how I learned that, right? So this was the same thing. I was speaking to a friend, and she was sharing with me that she had been enrolled in the University of Metaphysics out of Sedona, and something triggered a response in me. And so I knew that I had to enroll. And so she wrote a letter of recommendation for me, and I enrolled. And so now, as I'm sitting there, I write down literally all of the different courses, and I go into meditation, and I see that piece of paper, and one particular line is illuminated. And I'm like, okay. So in my meditation, I count down to see what line that is. And so when I get out of meditation, I go back into my office, I look at that paper, I count down, and I took what was illuminated in my meditation. And that's how I knew that I was taking that, I was going to enroll, what course I was going to master in, and so forth. Even when it came to writing my theses, I didn't have a clue. But they said, I'm going to write my thesis on how to reprogram your subconscious. Now, how funny is that? Because how do you awaken? Two ways. You have a near-death experience and you awake, or you have to work through your subconscious and reprogram that reptilian brain. That's what I wrote my thesis on. I didn't know that when they showed me that that's what I would be sharing now.
No, absolutely not. And what a journey. And you studied? Was it metaphysics? You studied
Yes,
metaphysics?
metaphysics.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually universities there that do that type of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you just study, it's all about learning how to connect, learning that you are a divine being, right? And that there's so much more to seek, to ask questions, and to understand that the answers are within. And so it's really learning about all of that. And as I worked through that, literally, as I finished that, that's when I then decided it was time to write the book. So, that was a busy couple of years.
I can imagine. And throughout this story, there's been a theme as well of trusting your instinct,
Trusting
that gut
instinct.
feeling, trusting your higher self, in a sense.
Yeah. When and you can't deny it. And for me, there was no denying it. I mean, literally, when you're embraced in the middle of the night, right? Your husband's out of town, so it's not him. You're home by yourself and you're feeling this warm, loving embrace. You open your eyes and there's this giant orb, literally about this big, and it's in the beautiful colors leaving the room. You know that there's something more. And you know that if there's that much love for you, that they can come in and embrace you and touch you and sit in your bed. And once they touched me, literally, I felt someone touch me here, and I just said yes. And before I knew it, I was standing in front of the Council of 12. And so to be able to go through that, you know that you have to trust because they have your back, right?
And for yourself, it's been trust in the sense of the experience, having to really, go within to say this is a true experience for me.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's the other thing about that. Again, and it goes back to coming in with fourth dimensional consciousness. The agreement was that I get to have my eyes open for my awakening. So in all of these experiences, now here's the crazy thing. In all of these experiences, I've been able to see them with my eyes open and closed. So when still points of light started showing up early on to calibrate, literally, I remember the first one, it was a still point of white light. It came all the way into my room. It stopped right about here and turned to pictures. I could see it with my eyes closed, and I saw it with my eyes open. And then 10 days later, this ultraviolet light came into my room. It turned into the pineal gland and it started to do this. And I thought, oh my gosh, this thing's going to ignite in my face and it's going to burn. And I could, again, saw it with both my eyes open and closed. And it did just that. It ignited and everything was open. From that moment forward, I could see. And so, yeah, it was just very interesting that I could. So there was no doubt as far as that because my eyes were open. When right now, little golden orbs about so big will pop in and out. I see them with my eyes open. And I'm like, oh, hello, I know you're here.
That's a beautiful experience. That really is a very beautiful experience. And for those going through an awakening process now, if what you're saying is resonating with them, after you going through it, what advice would you have for those?
You know, you really have to trust the process. You're not crazy, right? And you have to start to really become conscious of your thoughts, conscious of your feelings, conscious of how you're moving throughout the day. Just don't go on autopilot. That's the one big thing that I got when I wrote my thesis. You have to get off autopilot to reprogram your subconscious. You cannot do that asleep. And that means by the subconscious running the show. You have to consciously start to wake up and consciously be aware of where you are in every moment and how your thoughts are creating your experiences. And if you can begin to do that, then you're going to wake up. You're going to know that you're not crazy. You're going to know that I am creating this experience. And if I don't like this experience, how do I change it? You change it consciously, right? So that's a real big part of it.
That's a big part. That's a big. So, as in, if you don't like the life you've got now, or you want to manifest something else in your life, you can do that just by starting off to say that you've got it already. You may not have it, but you're bringing it in by saying you've got it. And that you are the
see yourself as you desire yourself to be, as above so below, as within so without. So it has to begin within you. So if you want to be balanced, I see myself perfect, whole and complete. I see myself joyful. I see myself content. I see myself as an awakened being connecting now into my I am presence. In fact, I invite my I am presence to be ever present within my physicality now. And so it is.
And it may seem very confusing, this awakening experience, because you're either hearing or you're seeing, or whatever the process may be, things peering into the greater reality of where your soul comes from or what you're potentially about. They're probably do you think the opposite can show up sometimes, where it's testing you? Or do you really believe this? Is this really your truth? Here's an opposite. They're going to test you, and these people are going to go against you.
Think about that, right? And so you really have to begin to trust. But all sorts of things are going to happen, and you have to get through your fear. And we don't know what life lessons you have. And so that might be a real strong lesson, might be that you trust your inner knowing. And so all sorts of things may be showing up for you because you wrote in your record that you want to transmute that and get through that. And so, yeah, you might actually have to work through the trust issues, trusting yourself. It may even come from inner childhood, right? That something happened. And so now, because your inner child is wounded and your inner child is running the show, that you have to work through that. So every step of the way, we really have to be mindful and work through, but hold ourselves with compassion and not judge ourselves as we move through this process.
Right, okay. What would you say are some of the main points in your book as well, in the sense of you're having your own awakening? There's some simple steps that the book talks about as well, isn't there?
So, again, I would say that one main thing is to have compassion for yourself. Wherever you are, it's absolutely perfect. We also have to understand that there are states and stages of consciousness, right? There are 7 states of consciousness. There are 10 stages, and that you are somewhere on that scale. So wherever you are is perfect. because you have to go through it. So love yourself through it. The more you can love yourself through it, the more you can get out of judgment of or beating yourself up, the easier it's going to be. The next thing is you cannot awaken on autopilot. So you have to become consciously aware of your thoughts and how your thoughts are then creating your experience, right? And that you are the creator. So that's another thing. You have to be aware that wherever you are, you created it. So if you're in, you have a lot of stuff that you don't like, pat yourself on the shoulder. I'm a wonderful manifester. I created all of this. Now imagine really what you could create through intention. You've created all this through default. Imagine for a moment what you could create through intention. So those are some things to really bear in mind. Another thing is to not judge others where they are on their path. A big thing that a lot of awakened people will do is judge someone. Well, if they would only do this, then they'll awaken. If they would only do that. And every time you place judgment on someone, you're taking and you're lowering your energy and your vibration, and you're going 2 steps back. So no one is broke. And we have to implement that law of allowing. You are that which you are, and that's okay. And I am that which I am, and that's okay. And together we make the whole, right? And we help each other. And as I do the work to raise my vibration, so as that person listening now, as you do the work to raise your vibration, your frequency, and you can hold that space, and now you can move through that 10th stage. Guess what? You're going to be so much high frequency that you simply being in the room and being present is going to help everyone else in that room. It's so interesting to me, and I tell you that happens. I walk in and people start to pulse and vibrate. They're like, "What just happened?" Um, well, and so you don't have to do, you just have to be. So those are some things that I would say that really matter.
Yes, but doing this work and the process that you've been on, I suppose is it difficult to when you go back into the norm in a sense where others who are not awake around you, do you find it still testing sometimes?
Now, here's the interesting thing. I work from home in the comfort of my office where I have clients, and that's what I do. So, quite honestly, I probably go out, get in my car, and drive somewhere twice a week. That's it. So most of the time I'm home in my environment. Um, yeah, quite honestly, go out to do grocery shopping or whatever. But other than that, I'm really home. And so my environment, very few people come here. And those that do are awakened beings. So I'm not really around a lot of people who aren't awake or getting it. If I am, it's through doing sessions on them. And again, there's that field of energy around. So I'm not impacted by their lower vibration at all.
Right, but for those who are having an awakening experience, and they may be in their life's
Still
going to change.
working, yeah.
Whatever the scenario, the family members who may not accept it, whatever. What can they do to sort of not ground themselves, but how do they deal with that situation, or even raise their vibration in a sense as well?
So, and that's interesting. Yeah. And that is interesting and sometimes can be a challenge. But that's the challenge because you happen to be the person in that family who's going to do the work. Because as you do the work to clear for yourself, you're doing it for all the generations, for the lineage. So that's the important thing to know there. So a wonderful exercise, and I actually do this every morning after my prayer and meditation. I see myself, I am created by divine light. I am sustained by divine light. I am protected by divine light. I am surrounded by divine light, and I am ever growing into divine light. And then I take and I bring my husband, my mother, and all my siblings into that divine light. Right? So I bring everyone in to that energy and surround them in a bubble of light. For we are created by divine light. We are sustained by divine light. We are protected by divine light. And as we do that, we're actually putting light around them. Right? So it's going to help them wherever they are to begin to move through their stuff. It's going to begin because the light is what's going to do it. because this process of ascension, of awakening, is that we're taking on more and more light and we're becoming higher dimensional and more light. That's the process. So as I surround everyone in that light, then the process is going to meet them where they are. And that's doing a lot. If you do that every day for your loved ones, and say, for an example, your spouse, your significant other, and they're not supportive, a wonderful exercise to do for them is to see the infinity symbol from your heart to their heart and draw that infinity symbol 3 times, but see it pink, because the third ray of God is cosmic divine love. So bring in that third ray of God and create that infinity symbol with that beautiful pink love. I did that for my husband. Oh goodness, I think years and years and years ago. And one morning he wakes up and he said, "Wow, the craziest thing happened. I woke up in the middle of the night and the room was pink and I was pink and everything in the room was pink." I'm like, cool. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, at least you know it's working. What you're doing as well. That you're, projecting
You
and
have
it
to
is energy.
understand that as I speak it, the word is the will, and it's done. And you have to know that as you speak it, as you set the intention, it is that simple. Everything is energy. And as you do the work, you will have more and more control of that energy. I don't know if you took a look on my website at on my about page of that picture of me bilocating. We are energy. There's 2 pictures that you have to see on my website. Um, and when you understand that, then it's easy to speak your word and know it's the truth. And the universe has to comply. It just has to. And so, yes, I set the intention that that pink energy is going to do what it's supposed to do for their best and highest good and for my best and highest good. And so it is. There is no exception.
What would you say then for the world or for ourselves, or I mean, you'll answer this in your own way, but what would you say is the benefit or for a soul to have an awakened experience now? I mean, obviously, not everyone's going to go through this process.
True.
I meet lots of people who will, well, not yet they haven't, and they may never go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So why go through one in the first place versus not going through one?
So here's the thing, everyone will go through it. Not everyone will go through it in this lifetime, right? All roads lead home. But some are on the straight, direct path, and some are on the bending, winding path. And that's fine because everyone's in their own place of their life lessons. And so, if your soul, because it's all about your soul, so if your soul, right, is ready to awaken and have the process of ascension in this timeline, because this is the one we've been promised. This is it. This is what the sages have spoken about for millennia. This is the 7th golden age that we're moving into. The earth has been promised that she no longer has to be this 3D planet. Earth is a 7th dimensional planet and is ready to go back home to whence she came. And so all of those souls who are ready to do that as well, this is the opportunity to do that. So there's the benefit of awakening, because if you want to end incarnation into 3D and to return back to 5, 6, 7D and higher, where there is only pure love and joy and peace and harmony, and I am of a higher frequency and vibration, and I can instantly manifest all those things that support me, then that's why you awaken. And that's why souls awaken. Remember in Lemuria, that beautiful golden age, they were 7th dimensional beings. So they created, it went out, it did its good, it returned to them, they felt it, and then it went to Source, and Source felt Source's creation. That was the process, right? And so we're returning to that energy. That's why, and that's what we're doing here and now.
Yeah, but absolutely, and I think the way you've put that's very beautiful. It's just I'll come back to it and say, yeah, but I've been in the presence of people who found it difficult to answer sometimes. I've not had an answer all the time, where they say, well, how is what you do or what you've experienced or the people that you speak to, how is what they know going to improve my life? How is it going to make any difference with my life? Is it going to make me happier? I'm quite happy as I am. Is it going to make me more content? I think I'm more as content as I could be.
So how is awakening going to change your life? Is that the question?
Well, it's going back to that when you some people that you'll get whose presence I've been in has always been, well, what people that you interview or people that you've come across, how is what they know going to better my life?
So here's the thing, you know what? Discernment is a wonderful thing, right? And so as you hear what I'm saying or any other person expert wants to say. If it resonates with you and you can take a pearl of wisdom from it and it improves your life in the slightest way, then wonderful. What a blessing that is. And if you hear what I'm saying or anyone else is saying and it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. This is all about free will. So no one is forcing you to believe anything. No one is forcing you to see anything my way. It doesn't matter, right? It is what it is. No one's broke. Everyone will come to their awakening when their soul says it's time for them to awaken.
Yes, I completely agree. I just wanted to sort of put that out there, just for those maybe coming across this for the first time.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can take what I say with a grain of salt. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that I know what I know. And the wonderful thing as you go through this process, especially as I expose myself coming onto shows like this, if I was so overly consumed with what someone thought of me, I would never do this, right? But once you're willing to stand in your power and speak your truth, because again, I've been taken to the Council of 12. You can look at those pictures of me bilocating. I remember once I was on an interview several months ago this past summer, literally, and as we're talking, and this was just over the telephone, I bilocated and appeared to her. And right in the middle of the interview, she stopped and she said, "Dr. Edwige." I said, "Yes." She says, "You're standing here in my office right now. I see you clear as day. You're more light, and I see you." She says, "Are you aware that you're here?" Right? And so I know beyond any shadow, and I guess what? She knows beyond any shadow that what I'm saying has some ringing of truth to it. And for those who don't accept, that's okay, because your opinion is none of my business. My goal here is to do what Creator is having me do, fulfilling my soul purpose. That's it. He didn't say I have to go and make sure every single person that hears me knows and believes it and acts upon it. No, that I just speak my truth and stand in that power.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, beautifully put as well. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think this is part of what an awakening process has to go through as well.
Yes.
To face these questions. And
you do, because discernment is so crucial in this awakening process. Because you know what, the internet is just full of all sorts of quackery, to be honest. And so you have to be so mindful as to what you decide to put your energies into, because think about it. If you put your energies into it, you're agreeing then that your power is put into it, and you have to be very mindful. For example, wow, a couple of months ago, again, I was on an interview, and she was in Canada. I'm here in the States, and she was coming into actually Las Vegas. And so she called me and said, "Edwige, I'm going to be in town. Would you come in? I'd love to meet you in person." So I said, "Yes, sure." And so I come to the hotel and I meet her and two other ladies in the lobby. Well, they had come in for a workshop. I didn't know the particulars of this workshop. All of a sudden in the lobby, I turn on. And so I said, "I believe I'm supposed to do work on you. Is that all right?" And so in the hotel lobby, I'm like, "Okay, guys, really?" So I go and I put my hands above them and I do the work. Well, two of the ladies then leave. Well, they've been to Vegas before. They know clearly how to get to the airport. They got lost. They missed their flights. And as they sat there, the energy was moving through them so fiercely that they were shown that the workshop that they came to town to participate in, there was dark energy associated with it. And I, in that time that I worked on them, removed that energy, and they had to stay on ground for it to finish calibrating and clearing what was going on within them before they could get on the plane, because had they gone on the plane, it would have messed up everything and it would not have removed that stuff. That's how amazing this is. And it turns out that one of those ladies that I met, we literally did some work recently, the last week of September. She came and we met and we did some spiritual work together. And so, yeah, it's intense. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to get into your work as well. Do you find though that with some of the knowledge that you have access to, knowledge that could be a great benefit to mankind in a sense, with the connections that you've got, and has it ever been an aspiration for you or part of your journey to want to bring some of that forth?
Absolutely. I think that's why I'm here today, right? The goal is to bring it forward. And in fact, it's so funny because Archangel Michael said that you would be coming in through the front door, that you would be known for your message and your spirituality and who you are as this bridge, that you wouldn't be coming in pretending to be anything else but who you are. And so, yes, I'm actually here ready to share that message and to do the work. So, hence the book, and hence here I am. So, wherever it takes me, I'm willing to go.
And do you think there's more knowledge that you could bring through as well with your connections that you've got? That's my point, really.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's so much more. This is just the beginning of it. This is absolutely just the beginning of it. This light being that moved in, wow. The information that's been coming in, it's just unbelievable. But it's not time. I was told that there will be time to share it. They keep showing me prophetic visions and different things. And so it's all coming. And it has to do with ascension. It has to do with the golden age. It has to do with who we truly are, and how the whole process is going to unfold. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And don't you find it incredible as well that, I mean, you know that there's many people in this field as well. I'm not talking about the healing what that you do, but I mean in the totality of the metaphysics, spiritual, having these awakening process, going on a not a similar but a journey like yourself in a sense, and they all reach individual people, and it's like you're meant to reach the people you're meant to reach.
Correct.
With the ego taken out the way that you're going to be this, major, guru that's going
Superstar,
to be
yeah. The goal is to
yeah.
reach who I resonate with, to bring the children home. There you go. And so who I resonate with is who will listen to me, who this will speak to their hearts. They will feel it. I'm blessed. Literally, I'm able to bring in light bodies. I think that's just the most amazing thing. And I have done it, to literally be working on someone and their light body be standing there. And I'm like, do you see it? I see your light body. And we bring it in, or we activate them. I've brought in divine light bodies. It's amazing. So I'm here to reach those people I'm supposed to reach. I'm okay with that.
Yes, and I think that's that's the egoless side there. That's a beautiful side of being of service.
And that's what it's about, being of service. My goal is to fulfill my destiny, to fulfill my soul purpose. That's it. And to continue on my path of evolution,
And you're always looked after, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're always looked after.
Absolutely. It's so amazing. I am so blessed and I am so loved. It's so interesting to me because when my small group of friends, they're all clairvoyant, of course. And when we all gather together, oh my gosh, my home fills. And they're like, Edwige, you're so loved. And this realm comes in, and then another realm comes in. The masters, literally, I had Metatron, Enoch, Ezekiel, all coming in, visiting me, saying, we love you. It's amazing. And then I had the angelic realm. And then I had, a ship come above my house. It's that profound. It's, and so, yes, I am protected. I am surrounded in love, and I am blessed. I am honored, and everything that I desire is provided for me.
Absolutely, and it's almost like when you were just saying there about these levels of beings that have come through, you're not just talking about a couple of levels there. You're really, as I suppose you've progressed, you've come to realize that there are infinitive levels potentially.
There's infinitive levels, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in fact, yeah, 72 realms. It's just amazing. And actually recently I did this beautiful ceremony where I sang the 72 names for Creator, all of the Hebrew names. And when I did that in this ceremony, there were 9 of us, and I sang the names, and they surrounded me as I did this. The mountain shook. I kid you not. The mountain shook. And I actually, again, being so protected, they put together in the physical these beings who were from principalities, the warrior angels. And they came together, and they said they felt when the earth shook as I was singing these names. It's just the most profound thing. And I'll share with you that the 12 tribes, the leaders of all the 12 tribes, came together to witness as I was singing these names in this ceremony. So it's profound, and that's what I'm here to do, that type of work.
Yes, absolutely. And when people come to you for this healing, I suppose you can call it as well, because it's partly healing. What can they expect?
Wow. It's so very interesting because it's different for everyone. And so I'll do some basic things because the chakra system's really important. And I'll begin to connect into that person. And then I'll work down their system, clearing chakras. And then I feel resistance. So I begin to remove resistance. We move into past lives. We move into healing. We move into the inner child. We move into relationships. We clear all sorts of things at all of these levels. I'm able to then remove miscreations from all lifetimes, injustices. So there's a lot of different things going on. As I'm expanding them, I'm able to connect them into source if they feel disconnected, lifting veils, turning on DNA. I actually work on a couple of psychics and they're like, wow, Edwige, I'm so blessed that I get to see this as a psychic. And they'll say, and actually there's a testimonial where I calibrated their neutrons and activated the DNA. So all the junk DNA gets activated. I'm able to go into the Akashic and release all of those contracts, creeds, and covenants of poverty, of chastity, of obedience, all of those things taking your power from you, clearing those things. I mean, you name it, physical healing. I mean, there isn't anything that can't happen because source is moving in, right? And so source sees you as perfect, whole, and complete. And so it's layer by layer. Because it's layer by layer. It's not like all of this can happen one time, but it's layer by layer that all of these things begin to happen so that you're recalibrated. The goal is to clear all of your stuff at every level of your existence in your auric field, from past lives, from your lineage, to clear all of that so that you then have transmuted all those things. You're then beginning to pulse, you're vibrating, and you're raising your vibration so that we can get you to hold those higher frequencies. And at that point, that's when your light body is a match and can move in. So that's the thing. I work on people to get them to that stage.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Okay, well, we've been putting up links to your website and to the book and everything else on the screen. I suppose one thing I'd like to ask as a sort of final question, as I ask a lot of my guests as well, what would you say is the most important message of your work?
Wow, that this is real, folks. That this is honestly real. Last year, I was guided that I needed to go to Mount Shasta. And so I did. And as I was standing on the mountain doing the process, literally I walked through all 12 levels of 5D with my eyes open. That was fascinating to me. Just imagine with your eyes open. And I watched with my eyes open. Wow, this is going to make me cry. A wall come in and split the dimensions. First, a lock came in and unlocked, and it unlocked. A wall came in and split the dimensions. And the three ladies that were with me disappeared because I stepped over into 5D. Wow, it's real. And then as I went through the next layer of it, literally the rays of God one by one descended into me. And that's why I talk about the rays of God. It's so important to understand because literally as I stood there, I watched one by one these rays of God, divine will, divine illumination, divine love. These rays moved into me and the violet flame moved into me. And then in the 12th level of 5D, as I stood there at the edge of Mount Shasta, the Emerald City appeared. Now my eyes again are open, right? It's not like I'm imagining. My eyes are open. I'm not drugged. So it's not like I was having whatever. And I'm standing there and the Emerald City appears and a golden path appears. And all I could do was stand there in amazement and awe. And one of the ladies, she had her hand on my shoulder and said, "Edwige, come back. You don't know your way yet. Come back." And so I want you to know beyond any shadow of a doubt. And I think that's why I've been blessed with being able to see everything with my eyes open and with my eyes closed, right? To let you know, I bear witness that this is all so real. Do the work. Look at these tears. It's
Oh, bless
so
you.
abundantly real.
Well, you can feel it. That's why. There's a lot of emotion with it, isn't there? Yeah. That's the difference.
Because it's to all are wholly ascended and free. Not just me, but all who choose to awaken in this time that they get it. That's what it's about. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. Absolutely beautiful. No, with some experiences that we have in life, really, especially spiritual ones, it's the emotional side of it, it's the feeling side of it that really impacts you.
Absolutely.
That's when you know you've had a true aha moment, in a sense.
Yes,
Or,
indeed.
Yeah, because it's
There's
the
no
feeling
denying
experience of
it because it goes through to your core of who you are. My soul is so happy and so pleased that the physical me is here and standing in that power and speaking that truth. And that's what's coming through. My soul is just so pleased. For everyone who's going to hear this, you're going to get it. You're going to get it.
Absolutely. Well, we posted all our links on there. So, Dr. Edwige, I'd just like to say, look, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really appreciate your beautiful advice and that loving message that you've just given us as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.